Welcome into another episode of Triple Zeros. I'm your host, Josh Buckhalter. Follow me on Twitter at JoshyBuck. Hit up the Facebook page, Clocker Sports, and the website, clockersports.com. The email address is clockersports@gmail.com. Jump right into it, man. The NBA is back. It's back. That's right. We waited 4 months, and we finally got rewarded with the NBA. Look, I know that Major League Baseball has already returned. I know soccer's been back. That's fine. It's well and good. The best part, it starts now. It's going to get better, but the best part starts now. Started tonight. We had scrimmage games for the past week, whatever. We got live It Counts basketball going on, and let me tell you, it's great. It was absolutely great. Now, I will say that there was some clear rust and some dead legs towards the end of the game, but it was a fun thing to see. It was a great sight for sore eyes. And to be honest, I'm a fan of the look. I know a lot of people are hurt financially by the fact that there can't be fans, and a lot of people are just saddened by it on a personal level. But I gotta be honest, I kind of dig the less commercial appeal of it, right? The empty stadiums allow them to advertise. Still, you're getting TV revenue. I know that the NBA is more reliant upon ticket sales than the NFL, but still, they get to do some signage that was a big part of their revenue losses. We'll talk about that a little bit. We'll touch on some more revenue losses closer here in Chicago that are affecting things apparently. And so anyway, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all of that. I will say that there was some stuff for people who I'm sure people didn't enjoy. I know they didn't because I saw it on the Twitter machine. Everybody kneeled. I mean, everybody kneeled. Right now, I for one have no issue with it whatsoever. Do I think that it's become more of a cliche or a trendy now than actual effective? Probably so. I think they missed their boat with that when Colin was going through it by himself and nobody kind of supported him in real time other than a couple of people. So to see it now is kind of like, that's cool. But it is cool to see them showing solidarity and trying to move the conversation forward and hopefully make some kind of real impactful change. That part I do think is really cool. So, like I said, I don't have no issue with it. I love that there are people who do, though. Oh, man, that the crying about that is the best part. You don't like it tough. Oh, I will never watch it. Listen, you don't know how many people are waiting to fill up that spot. There's a bunch of kids waiting to come and watch the game if you don't want to. That's fine. That's fine. But just know, everybody kneeled, and you're going to see it a lot more. It's not the end. It was only 2 games tonight, right? And the people, the haters was heated on the social media. It's about to get a lot worse for you. Just letting you know it's going to be rough. Going to be rough. I mean, coaches, staff, random staff. You had signage on the floor. You had the messages on the back. And me, forgetting that all this was happening, was looking at the jerseys. I kid you not. It took me damn near a game and a half to realize why I couldn't recognize anybody's name on the floor. I thought I had something wrong with my eyes. But I was like, oh, social justice message. That's right. Came back. Again, not the way that I prefer them to. I don't care. Because you gotta make sure that you don't frame it the wrong way, because people will try to take your word and say that you are defending a point you're not. I am in support of them fighting in any way they think is appropriate. Anybody fighting for what they think is appropriate in any way. That being said, I'm more appreciative of the how cool it was to see them doing it together than the act in and of itself, if that makes sense. I'm not against it, like I said, but more important to me was that it was a unified thing and a kind of a group message being put out there by the players and by the staff. So that was a wonderful sign. And also there was basketball played. Go figure. You had the Jazz taking on the Pelicans in the early game, and the Jazz walked away with that. It was a close game, and honestly, we're going to blow through this one because we know what we want to talk about, and it's really not this one. But I will say it was nice to see the Jazz get a win. Rudy Gobert was emotional afterwards. You know how his story is. He's basically the guy who shut the NBA down. He was a double-double. The Jazz had Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, and Jordan Clarkson all get 20-plus on the game. Clarkson had 23. He was the only one with the plus. He has been a mighty good pickup for them this season, and that's that third scorer. He's not afraid. He's got that ultra green light from those Lakers of a few years ago where they just really didn't care. They were just out there playing ball. Clarkson, alters the math, I think, on the Jazz slightly. And Conley, too. If Conley's going to play this way with Mitchell and Clarkson contributing, the Jazz could be a tougher out than I was giving them credit for. I still don't think they're going to win the championship. I don't think they're going to make the finals. But they're going to give some teams fits because of the way that they play. And they are going to be tough. They're a tough team. Especially, like I said, if they're all going, you got the big man in the middle there, Gobert, if he's playing to his full potential. Now, the Pelicans had 3 guys go 20-plus, but it wasn't the guy you probably be hoping for. Brandon Ingram, Drew Holiday, and J.J. Redick all had 20-plus. Zion only had 13. Remember, though, Zion had just returned back down to the bubble. His coach had said that he was going to be dealing with conditioning. He was on limited minutes. He had 13 points, like I said. At one point, though, Zion had like 10 points in 11 minutes. Right? He was out there balling. So I'm not too worried about it. Conditioning is an issue. You would like to have seen him at least be in some kind of a shape, even if he wasn't there. I know that it's not the same kind of training that you get on your own as you would in the NBA facility or under NBA's watchful eye. Keep that in mind, the NBA's watchful eye. That's what we call foreshadowing. But yeah, for him to come back down and be a little bit out of shape is a bit disappointing. Again, he's not a guy who can. His weight is going to be highly scrutinized throughout his entire career, and conditioning is going to be one of those things that they try to use in lieu of that when you can't beat up on his weight. Because even when he was not in shape, he was a big dude. Like, and I mean that like he's just a cut dude, swole dude. He's swole. Shit. I don't know how else to say it. So just watch out for that. But he every time he gets on the floor, he's efficient. We'll see how it translates into wins and stuff going forward, but. It's a different kind of thing for Zion. It's weird. Now, on to the star of the night. The Lakers and the Clippers was the game that many people think is an early preview, little sampler because it's really just the teaser. Neither one of these teams really care, quote unquote. They started off talking about AD might not play. The Clippers definitely didn't have Lou Will or Montrezl Harrell, but there was a lot of speculation about how, just talking back and forth about how serious this game was for either one of these teams, Clippers especially because we know that they weren't taking regular season as serious as the Lakers are. I can tell you that quickly went away when these teams hit the floor. And they were very competitive, and it was a great game, one of the better starts. I guess it's weird to call it a start because it's really a restart, but it's been such a long time. Can you call it a restart? It was great to see him go out there and battle. Like I said, a little bit rusty. Some dead legs towards the end, but it was some really good performances by both teams. Kawhi Leonard had 28 points. Paul George had 30. They were the only 2 Clippers with 20 plus, though. You had Pat Bev with 12 and Reggie Jackson with 10. However, Reggie had a couple of odd plays. He plays a little bit faster than his body sometimes, and we saw that a couple of times tonight. Anthony Davis for the Lakers, 34, 8-4. He was the high man of the game, killing it all. At one point, he was out there sniping threes like J.J. Redick. He was just hitting them, and Kuzma was in the groove too. Kuzma had 16-7. Dion Waiters had 11 points. A very underrated signing. I think we all mocked him because they had J.R. Smith, and so you had Henny with J.R., even though he said he doesn't like it. He had the Henny with J.R., and you had the edibles with Dion Waiters. We all remember that story. He took the edibles, and anyway, now he's in L.A. But LeBron had 16, 7, and 11, or 16, 11, and 7, excuse me. And a lot of people were talking because it was rough. First 3 quarters, it was rough. But down the stretch, LeBron really came alive. And I got to be honest, while it was the first game, I told you, the competitiveness in this one there was no way to avoid it. And it got really tense. In the last couple of sequences, you had LeBron come down, get fouled, but the refs not call anything. And he missed the shot. I'm sorry. LeBron comes down, tries to shoot a runner, misses it, grabs his own rebound in between 5 Clippers, goes back up, gets fouled. The refs don't call it. The shot's still good. The Lakers are now up by 2. Timeout for the Clippers, and they come back down. Paul George gets the ball. Again, Paul George, high man for the Clippers, 30 points tonight. He comes up, and it's a very similar-looking play. He gets the ball with about 3 seconds, though. Kawhi held it for a little long, and I'm going to talk about him in a second, too, because he looked, but onto this play right here, the final sequence. PG gets the ball about 4 seconds. Honestly, we'll be lenient when he gets it. Tries to drive in the lane, very similar to what Bron did after his miss following up, and really gets up for a shot. And it looked, I'm telling you, it was a really, really similar play. And the refs, again, called nothing. Kudos to the referees for getting out of the damn way and letting the ball game play out. The players are going to complain anyway. Players complain when they foul themselves. I don't really care about that. But the refs were consistent with the no call on both ends. Chef's kiss. Beautiful thing to see. That was awesome. Kawhi looks stiff. He's been out for 4 months. Maybe he's got to get loose again, but that's not really a good excuse. Rumors were that they were all practicing and playing. He did not look great in ISO. He looked, if we're going to be honest, we talk a lot about Steph Curry needing screens and stuff to be very effective. Kawhi looked like a guy who needed things run for him or stuff to happen. Now, again, he was playing LeBron, and LeBron was locked in. It's the first game. You know LeBron wasn't finna come out there and let him go like that, even though he still had 28 points. But Kawhi just looked stiff. This could be because we saw a rejuvenated Lakers team who's taking this a lot more serious than the Clippers are. Again, Clippers being down 2 of their top players. Even though those guys come off the bench, that's about 20 points you're going to get close to. Now, granted, you're not going to get a LeBron scoring 16 every night, but are you going to get 16 from Kuz? You're going to get 11 from Waiters all the time. You're going to have other guys step up. It's going to be a long season. This game did not determine how the season's going to play out, but it definitely was a nice little treat before we head into the real deal in the playoffs. There's only 8 games in the seeding, and the seeding is more for the 8th seed in the West and to jockey for position in the East. This is a tune-up, hopefully, for what we get to see in the Western Conference Finals. Now, as close as the game was, and it ended up being like, it was a 2-point game, and off of that last shot by James, the Clippers won the floor game. They shot a better higher field goal percentage, higher from 3. The free throws were like a half a percentage point off with the Lakers' advantage, but still not close enough for it, or not far enough for it to make that big of a difference. The turnovers were close. It was advantage Lakers 16-20, but where it really got big was Clippers also took 5 more threes than the Lakers did. They took 5 more threes, made 5 more threes than the Lakers did. Where the game turned though was not in the finesse of the 3-point line, right? The where the game turned was down low, and this is something I was talking about a while back. When it comes down to it, no one's on the Clippers is stopping AD. Montrez or not, you're not stopping AD. The Lakers out-rebounded the Clippers 45-36. The points in the paint difference, 40-24. How do you change that? Okay, let's say you give them the rebound event. You're gonna get points too. I know. Montrez comes back and that's gonna adjust it and be a big difference. But again, you didn't even get a good game from Bron. It's going to be a lot tighter than the people who are jumping all the way on Clippers want to admit. I picked the Lakers, and I'm sticking with that, not just because I picked them before, but because I still think that there's more there. Now, if you want to tell me that that series is going to go 7, yeah, that's fine, and that the Clippers could win. I wouldn't even argue that they could win. I just don't think they're going to win, and I don't think I damn sure don't think that it's as done of a deal as people think it is because of what they saw throughout the regular season. This team is still coming together, and LeBron knows how to play in the playoffs, and Anthony Davis apparently has a whole nother gear and a whole nother sniper mode level that we haven't seen yet, and he took it upon himself to show us and carried the Lakers to a victory early on. So those 2 games started off the festivities of the NBA's restart. Again, beautiful thing to see. Beautiful. Love it. Welcome back. On the flip side, on the other side of the tippy towel, the NBA is going to be facing a lot of scrutiny because of an explosive ESPN article that alleges a lot of blind eyes turned towards abuse, staff being detained, and academies being put under the control of the Chinese government. Now, we talked about Daryl Morey's tweet and how that's costing the NBA money and they cost them sponsorships. The NBA runs academies, and they've been called out by senators for this. They run academies in China, but see, here's the thing. It got political at that point, and they weren't really trying to get them to help with the China effort. They're really calling them out for doing social justice here and then operating in China, which is wrong, but don't get the motives twisted with something noble. Okay, that's all I'm saying. And the NBA is running around operating these camps in 3 regions, provinces, areas. I'm not sure the exact terminology for where they're located, but it's 3 separate areas. And Deputy Commissioner Mark Tatum was talking about this in the article, and I'll link to it in the description for the pod. They're students getting abused by the officials there. Staff were not able to find living arrangements because of their foreigner status, being detained and held for multiple hours. And then you had the academies just being under the control of the Chinese, and Tatum himself admitting that the NBA didn't have much oversight. One of the academies was in a police state where they are holding people in what they call re-education centers or vocational centers, excuse me. But most would describe them as internment camps for Muslims. The NBA is definitely playing and talking out of both sides of the neck right now. And ESPN is right to call them out. And honestly, it's hard to say that the people, regardless of their reasoning behind it, are wrong to call it the NBA here. Now, I don't want to say it'd be different, but the NBA would have an out if they were just supporting here and were just being silent about what happened in China. But they're actively engaging in business with China and involved in these situations. This is something that I think we're just seeing the beginning of, and could ultimately put the NBA's rise in greater jeopardy. They were already hurt by the tweet. The shutdown hurt them even further. Because we don't know how, I can't guarantee that it'll get the traction it deserves. But once this thing gets out there, if it gets to going like I think it should, watch out, because the NBA's got a lot to answer for in how they are, again, not just because they're active here and silent about that, they're active here and active there, and what they're doing there is really being complicit. Now, Tatum had came out and said that they've stopped operations there and last year, and things are going for the better. However, people who were over there have already come out and contradicted that, saying that no, not quite. They were trying to get people to come to the province as recently as this past summer. So it's not a good look. It's really not a good look. Again, the NBA is billed itself as the most progressive league of the major four sports. Most of the time, I would say they back that up. This is one of those times where I think that they have maybe written a check that they can't cash, because they've gotten so deep in the bed with what's going on over there that trying to explain it away is not going to work, and trying to now acknowledge it and try to act like you fixed it after you've been caught is going to damage them here, and only for those who wanted to. Again, it's not about the NBA. The NBA is throwing the major assist to the players. This is about empowering the players to go out and make a change. So I don't think it'll hurt as much as it could, but it's definitely not a good thing, and it's really bad pub at a time when all the four sports need some as good publicity as they can get, because again, things aren't happening right now for them at the box office or at the ticket sales booth. So any negative pub hurts. This is just more piling on for the NBA and how they've mishandled this entire ordeal with China, and it's just going to, again, keep snowballing into other things. I don't think this is the last we've heard of it by any stretch. Lastly, the Chicago Bulls. Let me just say, it's painful. It can be downright painful to be a Chicago fan, and I'll talk about a little bit the other part of this, of reasoning why behind that statement later. But Joe Cowley of the Chicago Sun-Times came out and wrote an article saying that Bulls players fear that they are being unheard. This revolves around the still employed by the Bulls, Jim Boylan, being still employed by the Bulls. And this is a question that we talked about at length. The multiple myriad of reasons why he could still be here. Talked to Tony Gill about it. Talked to Rick Camp about it. We've been talking about this for a while, and I think that's the problem here. When Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley took over, we were told they'd be given autonomy, and they came in and cleaned house and stopped at Boylan. And part of the reasoning there was that they were being patient. At the time, we were being told they were being patient, and they wanted to see everything work out. This was already after the stoppage. Well, then we found out they wouldn't be part of the restart and that they wouldn't be getting a bubble, and he was still around, and its stories started to surface, including from Reinsdorf himself in an interview saying that he's facing 9-figure losses, and people started putting two and two together like, oh, well, Boylan's kind of cheap. Not only do they not want to hurt their reputation, quote unquote, because I think that's bull if you're holding on to a coach that's bad. Doesn't do you any good. But they're also, they're trying to save a little bit of money and not have to pay out 2 coaches. Now, Boylen's very cheap, so it's kind of a double whammy if you keep him around and not have to pay another coach, even though many experts expect to see new coaching salaries go down dramatically, probably about in half or more the next round of them once everything gets back going, just because of all the lost revenue. But this is what we've talked about. I literally brought that point up a week or so ago about what happens to the players who have been telling you they don't like the guy, and yet here he is. What do you do? What do you tell those guys? Lauri Markkanen's already had rumors slip out that he might demand a trade if they don't change things. Zach LaVine was on the floor, visibly pissed. I just talked about this. And here it comes out now from Cali. Pretty plugged in, I would say, right? Casey Johnson from NBC Sports Chicago has been dropping the breadcrumbs, telling us, hey, kind of softening us up for it. And players clearly are feeling that pressure. This is not a good look. How do you think this news, even getting to this point, makes possible free agents feel? Now, Scottie Pippen came out and said that this isn't a place for free agents anyway. They got to build to the draft. That's cool, but you're not helping. And not only that, you're hurting, right? Like you're already making it hard for yourself to retain. Now, I guess a more pragmatic way of looking at it would be that there's nobody there worth, placating anyway. There's no superstar. I don't think so. I definitely don't think that there's a superstar on this roster. But that doesn't mean that I would be willing to alienate any of them, because players talk. Players have friends who are also players that you might want to come play for you later after you've gotten rid of the player that you have. So no, a little lengthy, but you follow. This is a problem, and it's only going to get worse. One last thing, got to plug it. PippenAndEasy.com going up. It's already up. I'll be sharing it tomorrow on the Twitter handles at Josh G. Buck on Twitter. But the article is about comments from Zach LaVine from February that resurfaced this past couple of days, where he said that he was asked on First Take who would be his ideal teammate. He quickly shot out with LeBron. Many people started, the Photoshop gang on the social media is insane, bro. They are fast. them folks are fast. They got him in the Lakers jersey, and I just got to thinking, while he said that he would love to play with LeBron, he also said that, because he said that, playing with the guard who passes like that up and down the floor would be awesome. He said playing with the dominant big man would also be great. And people kind of looked at it and just lumped that in with the rest. And I'm like, well, maybe it is, but also that could apply to his own team and his teammate, Lauri Markkanen. And that's kind of what I go into, that's what I go into in the article. Just that the comments can apply to Lauri as well, a guy that we've seen be dominant, just not consistently. And even when last season during the struggles, when Zach kind of took control of the offense and empowered Lauri to go and do his thing, and it was just a 2-man game, they looked pretty good. So everybody was freaking out. That's been the kind of the thing with the Boylen sitting there in limbo. But I just don't know if those comments, even, especially because they're old, but also I don't think it's as isolated to LeBron as people want to make it seem. It was a shout out to LeBron, and I could see them trading Zach. I'm not going to lie. But I think that also it should be, and that's what I said about, that's the title of the article. It's a wake-up call to Lauri Markkanen. He's begging you to be that guy. Bulls fans are begging you. I wrote an article a little while back about the Bulls should pursue a trade for Aaron Gordon. I suggested maybe offering up Lauri Markkanen, but it wasn't because I didn't think Lauri had the talent. It's literally the demeanor, that mentality. He's got to be more dominant, more consistently. He had double-digit rebounds 4 times this season. 4 times. 7 feet tall. Now, I know he's more of a perimeter 7-footer, but 7 feet to have 4 times, only go double-digit rebounds 4 times, that's awful. That is awful, and it's soft. Got to get it. Remember how we had the entire offseason pictures of him getting bulked up, and my man went out there and got double-digit rebounds 4 times. Now, granted, you had Wendell, Daniel Gafford, you had some rotating bigs down there, and that's fine. I get all that. I'm not trying to say it. And he had a couple where he was close, 8, 9. Dude, I need you to be a walking double-double. I need you to be at least, you should be a 20 and 10 dude. Easy. 14, something like that point. Like, dude, it was just not good. So, the article is, Zach's comments should be a wake-up call to Lauri Markkanen. check it out on Pippin Ain't Easy. Again, I'll be sharing that tomorrow on the social media sites. Going to take a quick break, and when I come back, we're going to switch gears. We got to talk about the NFL, man. They out here wilding. It's the players, and I hate to disagree with the players, but I got to disagree with the players because the players are out here wilding. BRB, triple zeros. We are back on Triple Zero, switching gears over to the NFL. So they came out with their top 100 list, voted on by the players, and let me tell you, the players don't know what they're talking about. Listen, I typically don't argue with these lists because, again, when you're judging your peers, I don't know how to knock somebody who's judging their peer, right? It's not my peer. All I can give you is my opinion from the outside looking in, and that's exactly what I'm about to do right here. I do not agree with this. I do not understand it. I do not like it, Sam. I am. I think they I don't want to call them prisoners of the moment, but I definitely have to question exactly what it is they were seeing, because I'm not with it. So let me give you the top 10 before I get to picking apart my bones with this one. Number 10, Derrick Henry, running back for the Tennessee Titans. You know, he had that monstrous season once they put Ryan Tannehill under center and really carried them literally and figuratively to the playoffs. You have number 9, Stefan Gilmore, cornerback from the New England Patriots. Number 8, my boy, Nuke Hopkins, now of the Arizona Cardinals, fleeced from the Houston Texans. Number 7, George Kittle. Shout out to Kittle, because my man he has worked his tail off and become the best tight end per his peers in the NFL. Can't knock that man. Fun, loves the game, catching passes, blocking in the running game. Wonderful all around. People want to argue that Kelsey's the better tight end, but I would argue maybe the better receiving tight end, but the most complete tight end in the NFL right now, it has to be George Kittle, because this is the dude who can catch, run after the catch, and takes pride in knocking out his assignment when he's blocking. Great to see it. Number 6, Christian McCaffrey, CMC. He of the insane contract extension. Number 5, Michael Thomas from the New Orleans Saints, top receiver and top non-quarterback offensive player in the game as well. In the list as well. Number 4, now this is where this is where it gets interesting. Patrick Mahomes came in at number 4. Now, I already know what you're thinking. Who the hell came in over Patrick Mahomes? Right? I mean, what? Well, number 3, Aaron Donald of the Los Angeles Rams, stud. Russell Wilson of the Seattle Seahawks, stud. Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, if you've been following it, now I know you have, Lamar and even Russ at some point, but for 99.9% of the season last year, I was on the Lamar for MVP train. He won it. I was right. Shouts out. But number 1, like, okay, comparing the 3, and now Russ, I don't have a problem with Donald. Maybe he should be 2 because he is the best. See, I think the number 1 and 2 will probably be the best offensive defense. But if you're just ranking it based off pure talent, which they are, then whatever. But I have an issue with you putting either one of them over Donald and then having anybody over Patrick Mahomes. Now, I get it. He missed a couple of games last season. But let me tell you how that should have actually helped his case. The 3 quarterbacks, because this is what we're really talking about. Donald is there, but we can debate over where he should be. These quarterbacks, the order of the quarterbacks just throws me. And I love all 3, but this just shouldn't be the way that it goes. My order would probably be Russ, Lamar, Pat. And Russ is really through no fault of his own. They need to give him some better protection back there and actually stabilize that run game. Maybe they stabilize the defense with the trade for Jamal Adams. That secondary is going to be kind of fierce again. Pass rush still is non-existent, but Russ is 3 for me. Lamar comes in at 2, MVP or not, and Pat comes in as the top. Super Bowl champ comes in at the top. And when you compare the three quarterbacks, you have about the same completion percentage for all of them, 61 to 65. Now, the only one with that is Pat. Passing yardage, 41. Russ is the leader in the clubhouse there. Pat comes in with over 4,000, and then Lamar bringing up the rear with 3,100. However, then you go over to the rushing yards, and you got Lamar he's got 1,200 yards by himself. Combined, Mahomes and Russ have 560 yards. Lamar added 7 touchdowns on the ground. Russ and Pat combined for 5. Lamar also threw 36 touchdowns. Pat had 26, and Russ had 31. Interceptions were all pretty close. Lamar had the most with 6, but the other two guys had 5. Russ took 48 sacks. Good Lord. 17 for Mahomes and 23 for Lamar. Now, it gets even more interesting when you go to the playoffs because, look, this is where the reversal or my order would switch even more. If we're going playoffs, give me Pat, give me Russ, then give me Lamar. Because the numbers, passing yards, 365 for Lamar, 602 for Russ, 901 for Pat. Touchdowns, 1 for Lamar, 2 for Russ, 10 for Pat. Now, granted, Pat had 3 games, Lamar only had the 1. And Russ had the 2 games. So we'll go to their per games to make it a little bit more even. 365 for Lamar, passing yards, 300 for Mahomes, and 301 for Russ. However, them touchdowns come back to hurt you, brother. 1 for Lamar, like I said, 3.3 for Pat, and 1 for Russ. And then the rushing yards, Lamar still has the yardage, but he wasn't putting points up on the board. Listen, I love Lamar Jackson. That was my MVP from week 1 forward. Well, week 2, because I had to see it first. But I was championing it. I'm telling you, check the tape, fam. Check the tape. I just don't know how they could see that and not vote for Lamar. And I hate to be this cynical, but I have to ask, is there some kind of jealousy involved in this with the notoriety that Mahomes has gained so quickly? A lot of guys never reached that level, and he's got it now, his 3rd year. I can tell you, as a Bears fan, it hurts because it should have been here, and it ain't. But, damn, how did he get to be? Not only is he not the top quarterback or the top player, he's not the top quarterback, and there's 2 guys. What is that? That's 3. There's 2 guys in front of him. Wow. Like I said, I typically don't go against the players when they're judging their peers, but wow. That one shocked me. In other news, LaShawn Shady McCoy is taking his talents down to Tampa to join Tom Brady and Gronk and the rest of the weaponry there. Now, Shady and Brady, the Shady Brady bunch. Come on now, that's just the T-shirts make themselves. Is this the most talented roster Brady's had? Or it has to be close, right? Those Gronk, Aaron Hernandez, you got Randy. Well, I'm all around. The backfield is, I'm going to go, that may be the topic for the next one to go look into the comparing Brady's offenses. But this is a really talented group. Now, granted, the 3 newest pieces are pretty old. Right, aside from the rookies, obviously they're not old, but Brady, Gronk, and Shady are old. Gronk and Shady have the bodies of dudes probably 5 to 10 years older than them, as much as if they've been hurt over the past few years. And Brady has to hope that Tampa Bay can block because they weren't doing a great job last year. But he gets the ball out quick, and with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin down there to catch passes, and O.J. Howard at tight end, and Cameron Brate at tight end. Damn, that offense is loaded. Whew. Yeah, they just got to keep him upright, boy, because if they do that, look out. That's going to be rough. And other news, the Bills sent their rookies home after briefly deciding that they would have them not do training there. They would send them home for Zoom meetings. This in the wake of them having 5 COVID positives since the starting of training camp, quote unquote. Not a good look, but at least they're trying to be precautious. They're doing much better than MLB, which is waiting for everybody to get infected and then send them home after they cancel games. Not a good look for MLB. Yeah. Lamar, speaking of Lamar Jackson, He still wants Antonio Brown. He made it known the other day. He said he was hopeful for it. He's still hoping for it. His coach, very diplomatic in his response. Here it was. John Harbaugh said that I respect him for feeling that way. I respect his opinion on it. Harbaugh said of Jackson's thoughts on Brown. I definitely appreciate hearing how that workout went whenever it was. I mean, it was a long time ago. But we will look at any and every player at all times. So Antonio Brown is no exception. Decisions, this is where it gets, that part was very diplomatic. I respect his opinion. I respect him for feeling that way. I definitely appreciate it. If anybody hits you with them 3 in a row, fam, the answer is nah. I don't care what the question, you're not getting the answer you thought you were going to get. Because, damn, I saw that from a mile away. I respect him for feeling that way. Oops. I respect his opinion. I definitely appreciate him. Nope. His next sentence. Decisions will be made based on whenever they're made. And I don't think he's really available to even sign right now. So it's not really a conversation that you have until he's available to sign. Maybe I'm wrong about that. That's something I will have to ask Eric about, the general manager, Eric DaCosta, about where that stands with the league and the player. But that's where we stand on it, at least from my perspective. That second part, it's a non-answer. Hey, man, I can't even do it if I wanted to. I'm not saying I do, but if I did, I couldn't, and I don't even know if I could because I don't know. I'm going to have to ask the dude who's not here right now. That's a great answer. Coach speak. Love it. Talked in circles. All that's great. Basically, nah. AB's cousin, Hollywood Brown, does play for the Ravens, but that's probably the closest they're going to get to the Brown family. They're not bringing AB in. They have a young team, an impressionable group. Now, you do have a strong veteran presence in Mark Ingram, but he's a running back. It's kind of hard for those guys to take over the team, even though, again, he's a glue guy. I love Mark Ingram, too. Mark Ingram is one of my favorite players in the league. Yeah, dude, I respect him for feeling that way. I respect his opinion on it. I definitely appreciate hearing how that workout went, whenever it was. RESPECT. Find out what it means to HARB. Love it, man. Oh, that's a great answer. And then we wrap up with the Bears. Sigh. So I talked about it a little bit earlier, how it's painful sometimes to be a Chicago fan, and the Bears are a big source of that. Not only did they have put down. Wow, that sounded really bad. Not only did they have to place, or will they have to play without nose tackle Eddie Goldman, who opted out for health reasons this season, but his backup, John Jenkins. Not only did they have to place Eddie Goldman on the COVID reserve list, but his backup, John Jenkins, is also going on the list. It's not good. Now, in the press conference with Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, Pace mentioned a lot of guys, and Jenkins' name didn't particularly come up, or maybe I just let it slip by because he mentioned a lot of other guys, Bilal Nichols and Roy Robertson Harris, and it sounded to me like without Goldman, the Bears are kind of going to just do without as much as possible their base defense. Maybe they can still bring in Snacks Harrison. That'd be a great move. That'd be really smart for you to do, but who knows if they do it. But yeah, it made it sound, at least from him, that they're going to be a lot more in their sub packages. So I would expect to see a lot more of Nichols and Hicks with those edge guys and a fifth defensive back out there on the field. Who that guy will be, I don't know, because the safety group is very thin. The cornerback group is very thin and inexperienced, and they just cut Trey Roberson, the guy that they paid from CFL and gave him a 2-year deal. Waived him with a non-football injury. Like, damn. It's already getting bad. And on top of that, they have to sort their way through a quarterback competition with no preseason. Woof. So, my expectation for this team will be that Mitchell Trubisky comes out of training camp, quote unquote, as the starter. I think he makes it through week 1. It's the Lions. He pretty much owns the Lions. Week 2 is the Giants. I could see him struggling there and there being questions. week 3. Now, this is where it gets interesting because I think that's where we see Nick Foles. But if it's a blowout, maybe you don't see Foles until the next week so we can come out there and be prepared for a start. But I don't think Mitch makes it past Atlanta. And that's bad news. Now, Pace came out today on 670 The Score and said that he feels he has the support of management and that, he acknowledged the shortcomings of the last couple years, especially last year, and how it falls on him. I find that interesting, but it came from him and not from management. Now, this could be a Jim Boyle situation where he's the only one talking about how confident he is, he and beat reporters, which we see how that now is starting to play out. Maybe this works out for Pace, and he does survive Mitch being a flame out. I don't know how you could with how much this has set the organization back for these couple of years. Kind of held them in that mediocre range that they've been in for really some time, but it's better than being in bad, is it? I don't know. This is the life of a Bears fan. I'm just fed up with it all. But he says he has the backing of management, and if that's the case, then maybe we see him get one more crack at the quarterback apple. Because I don't think it's Foles either. Like Foles, even if Foles is really good and the Bears do well with him, he's not the long-term solution. So they have to go back. If Pace can save this season and make it look respectable with Foles, he gets another shot at the quarterback carousel, barring again some kind of meltdown. If Trubisky goes out there and bombs, and then Nick goes out there and bombs, Foles goes out there and bombs, I think Pace is on borrowed time. I wrote about that for Last Word on Pro Football, that the Shaheen trade had put the spotlight back on him. Well, the Roberson cutting puts back on him, and then seeing how they deal with these injuries, there's still the question marks about the offensive line. The secondary has questions. There's a lot riding on this season, and a lot of ways that can go wrong, and very few that can go right. And I'm skeptical that the current brain trust makes it through that season till next year. They talk like they are, but that's how it always seems to happen. One more thing before I get out of here. Coming soon, probably tomorrow afternoon or Saturday morning, from Last Word on Pro Football, is the top 10 players in the NFC North, and I can tell you it's a pretty good list. It's a talented division. For a division that was known for being the bruiser division back when I was coming up, there's a lot of skill position guys out there now that make it look good. So be on the lookout for that one coming out in Last Word on Pro Football. That's going to do it for this episode of Triple Zeros. Follow me on Twitter, Josh E. Buck. Facebook page is Clocker Sports. Website, clockersports.com. And the email address is clockersports@gmail.com. And be on the lookout for the Around the Clock roundtable discussion coming from Clocker Sports. We tried to test it out today. I messed it up. I figured out where I messed it up, so I'm going to fix that. We're going to try it again and bring it to you. Really great group of guys that we that have very different perspectives, so we all get out and get on and try to share our thoughts on the situation. So be on the lookout for that Around the Clock roundtable discussion from Clocker Sports. Until the very next time, you already know what to do, man. I'm gone.